Hang in
Dude,
there. It is.
that's Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
Smylie, it is Thursday evening during Masters Week. That means that the first round of play is in the books. This is our first journal of 3 we're going to bring to you this week before we do our full recap on Sunday night. And what a day it was. Pretty eventful one. The course conditions, I think, I feel like I was very wrong. I thought maybe some of the rain was going to play soft. Clearly, firmness was the word of the day that we heard in a lot of press conferences. And so a lot to get into here. I got some notes I took out on the course. Want to kind of go through some players. But this episode and all our coverage this entire week is presented to you by DraftKings. Been a great partner for us. And for the year's first major, DraftKings is giving all customers a shot to play free for a $1 million top prize with your next $10 deposit. So, Smylie, the place we unfortunately have to start is with the review of our DFS lineup that we put together at our show at T-Bones.
Not the first time ever somebody got to T-Bones and figured they saw the light. For us, unfortunately, we saw part of the light, and we need a lot of help.
I'll just read you our point totals for our players after day one. Our leading point scorer was Shane Lowry, who is tied for 11th at 100. He got us 22 points.
Jeez, we don't even have a top 10 on the board.
Yeah, then we had Colin Morikawa and Maverick McNeely earning 19 points each. We had Will Zalatoris earning 15 points, Sepp Straka earning 9.5 points, and Wyndham Clark earning 8.5 points. Any comment on the status of our roster and what we'd like to see from them the next 3 days?
Yeah, we're washed up and we're trash.
Yeah, so the DFS, and the good news is there are a lot of ways you can play on
That's
DraftKings
right.
using that deposit. You can play a little showdown one-day games, so maybe that's what we'll do after this is put together a new lineup. But right now we're going to kind of go through all the names on the leaderboard using DraftKings Sportsbook odds and to kind of tell the story of the day on Thursday at the Masters in 2025. So let's just start at the top. Justin Rose, 7 under round with a bogey at 18. He is now, his odds are now 7-1 to win the tournament with a 3-shot lead after day one.
His odds are what?
7-1 plus 700.
Stop it. Plus 700 to win.
Would you like to?
Scotty and Rory started the week at what? They were at 4 plus 400
Scotty was
plus
plus
500.
450.
So you have a 3-shot lead and it's 7-1. I think the odds makers feel there might be some regression coming to the Rose camp.
I think that is probably fair, and here's why. His day was a day of birdie runs. He birdied 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, then bogeys 18.
My
he gained
goodness.
5.26 strokes putting. Off the charts good day with the flats thing. So what'd you see today from Justin? I mean, I thought it was interesting his press conference.
Plus 5's insane.
It's a really, really good day with the putter. But that is, of course, usually unsustainable. So that's probably what the odds makers
If you would have asked me what I thought that number would be, I would have probably said it was going to be around plus 400. Plus 700. That's wild.
What do you think Scotty's odds are without having seen them yet?
Probably what they started the week. Maybe even a little tighter. So let's go with plus 275.
Plus 200. He is a 2-1 favorite to win this golf tournament.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of work down the list here.
Is Ludwig next?
Ludwig is plus 650.
Okay, so
it's
next
a little bit shorter. He's the next shortest odds. Bryson at plus 800. I mean, we can go through these as we go, but with Justin,
does Freddie Couples have odds?
Freddie Couples,
after a 1
I
under
don't
par?
have his odds in front of us, but I would like to talk about him.
Epic day with Freddie, man. When you're holing out a hybrid at 14, I watched Rory hit like just a chippy little, looks maybe like a sand wedge into 14.
Yes.
And Freddie's hitting a hybrid in and hooping it. It's amazing. That is the content I'm here for.
186 yard hole out with the 6 hybrid, the longest iron he carries in his bag. His is 7 iron, and he shoots a 1 under round today. He's tied for 11th. Turn back the clock for Freddie Couples. I mean,
amazing,
that's insane, right?
Yeah, I know Couples could have given Rom 2 aside today.
He could, yeah. Rom finished 3 over
and
today.
Wyndham, and our guy Wyndham.
and we kind of bounce around here because I thought a couple guys I want to talk about: Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Colin Morikawa. I think, and even in some of the notes I took out in the course, my first observation was, man, there were some tough pins out there today.
Totally.
And that was a lot of guys. Michael Kim came in and talked about the same thing. I thought the pin on 5 was diabolical. They had like that left shelf, and it was kind of on the northeast side of that left shelf. So it was just almost impossible to get an easy tap in lag putt. So very few guys do that today.
I've never heard somebody refer to a compass to like on a green. So now I'm like going in my head, where's the northeast side?
The northeast part of the shelf of that left shelf.
All right, help me out here.
Okay, ready?
Because when I'm looking at from the front of the green up,
okay, look,
like if it's on the left side, it would be the northwest side of the green.
Well, it's okay. The shelf is, if I was giving it a direction, would be kind of west-southwest, the shelf itself. But of the southwest or the southwest shelf, it's in the northeast corridor of the southwest shelf.
Dude, I'm so on the other side.
I feel like everyone's
of this.
tracking with me. I think everyone's tracking with me.
We're so mirrored on this.
How else would you describe? It's a section. It'd be like saying that Augusta is obviously in the south of the United States, but it's in the north part of Georgia. You know, so you could say I don't think anybody's interested in hearing us debate cardinal compass directions on our recap pod.
I just have never heard somebody refer to like a whole location with a compass, and so I just wanted to get your thoughts there.
And it's probably the last time I'm ever going to do it again.
Because I'm not following you. Because if you just said maybe the northwest corridor of the green, I would have said, okay, I'm there. But when you said northeast, that would have been confusing to me because technically northeast would be up and to the right.
Smylie, would you care to comment on the pin positions today at Augusta National? It is anything other than cardinal directions.
I'll do it without a compass.
Thank you.
You're right, though. I mean, the 5th hole was hard as crap. Guys couldn't get it close. Guys could barely, when they're on the front of the green there, they were struggling with the lag putting. The one that really stuck out to me was, right from the get-go, that whole location at 1's really hard.
Yeah.
So right from the get-go, 1 was tough, but 2 and 3, I felt like were doable. It was a kind of a decent mix.
2, I thought was interesting. Again, this goes back to green firmness. I don't know if this is one of the greens they replaced, but it was Rory got a bad bounce there. Rahm bounced one over. It was a couple of those approaches. It just, it felt like it was. It's. I see what you're saying.
You're landing on
tucked there. It's such a small area to.
You're not landing into an upslope, and you're coming off of if you're hitting a wedge shot for the most part, you'll be landing it. Or your strike would be from a downslope with a hanging lie. So that ball naturally is not going to be coming in softly. So that's why you would have seen some big bounces with wedges into 2. But for the most part, for that whole location at 2, when it's all the way in the back left, you just have to leave it short right of the bunker like Scotty Scheffler did. And then you just have to fly it all the way back there.
I believe Ludwig did something similar as well. What did you think about 15? The pin placement there.
I thought Ludwig hit in tight. I thought he had like a close look for eagle.
But I think he had it kind of from an angle wwhere he could kind of access that pin a little bit better than the guys who were kind of hitting over the top of that bunker and bouncing it long. Yeah. What do you think about 15? I mean, just the way, because it felt like it was almost impossible. Ludwig talked a little bit about this, where they're really going to be trying to play conservative this week. He and Joe Scavron, and if you're in between numbers, don't love it. Always try to lay up and take the wedge. He said today at 15. He wanted to hit a 6, but they ended up hitting a chippy 5, so it would just cover, and then he knew it was going to release to the back of the green and just kind of take the, whether you're chipping there or just trying to kind of 2-putt from there for birdie. But we saw Colin double cross his approach, and he was trying to kind of cut it in there. That was, for me, that was kind of the story of Colin's day, was just the 2 different approaches to the par 5s on the second 9 at 13 and 15. Beautiful approach at 13, makes that eagle putt, and then 15 double crosses, it goes long, and then chips it to the back of the green and 3 putts from there. But then you had a guy like Rory or Patrick Cantlay who go long because that green's so firm, and then in trying to chip it back, roll it into the water, and I think Rory made double, Patrick Cantlay made triple from there.
Yeah, let's just talk about 13 and 15 because I think that's a pretty big storyline of the day. Those holes typically you see eagles, you see birdies, and you see a lot of risk reward in those holes. And with the whole location at the 13th hole, I thought that's one of the more difficult ones on the green.
Yeah, that front right there.
Yeah, you wouldn't think it would be that hard, right? But that's the same hole location that Tiger Woods putted it into the creek. It's a very quick putt from behind the hole. That's right. And you just talked about Ludwig Oberg and whether they, their strategy when it comes to if they have to make a decision, we're going to lay it up if we're in doubt. And that happened at the 13th hole. him and Joe Scavron had a good minute or two discussion trying to figure out what to do because they're in that kind of no man's land for them. Where earlier in the day, I saw a bunch of players that were hitting, long irons, 5 woods. Like I saw JT hit a 5 wood into the flowers. Jordan hit a long iron into the flowers. And then later in the day, Rory McIlroy hit 7 iron into the 13th hole, which we'll get into Rory here in a bit. But I just felt like the 13th hole and where that hole location was today was a great example of a lot of different ways to play it. Ludwig ended up laying up at 70 yards in, hits 8 feet, makes a birdie. And then to your original question with 15 and what I thought about it, the story of that hole appears to me to be about the firmness of that green. There's 4 new greens this year. The first hole, I believe the 8th hole, the 15th hole, and the 16th hole. And you could really tell based off the shot that Rory hit into the green on that second shot. 4 iron from 239. And to me, it didn't land that deep into the green. If anything, it landed a pace or 2 past pin high and still found its way, I'd say, a good 6-7 yards off of the green. And I think a lot of players putt and chip based off memory at Augusta National, with Rory's playing his 16th, 17th time at the Masters. That chip, he knows what he can't do. What are you not supposed to do in that situation? Chip it in the water. And I think where he landed that chip shot, to me, and I think to a lot of people that have watched this tournament, didn't feel like that was a bad pitch when he hit it. Like It's not like he flew it in the middle of the green. It carried 3 paces on. But you could tell that golf ball had zero check on it. And it just trundled, never stood a chance. I think the big debate when it comes to Rory at 15, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts because when we were covering it with featured groups, I thought it was debatable whether, you just saw how firm the green is with a 4 iron. You just saw Akshay Bhatia play a similar shot because he hit it in the water from near the drop zone, and you could tell that golf ball wasn't spinning on the green. Do we feel like Rory could have saved a shot and tried to just hit that pitch over again and landed a little shorter?
Well, I think it's so interesting. I think the screen's going to be a storyline for the rest of the week. Although I am curious to see how much rain. I just pulled the forecast over here. It looks like 0.3 of an inch from tonight, 9
It's not
Thursday.
supposed to be.
Not a ton.
Yeah.
And I guess that was my curiosity. Coming into the week, we thought maybe it'd play a little bit softer because of the rain earlier in the week and the rain on Friday. Clearly did not play soft today. So depending on how it comes out tomorrow, maybe that's what they were prepping for. They feel like it'll be a little bit softer, and that's why it was so firm on this day one. But obviously the bigger thing that you mentioned was it's just a new green. It's going to be firm no matter what. And I think the point you make on Rory, and it was the same thing with Cantlay, although Cantlay, I think, landed his a little further than he should.
Further down is what I was told.
Yeah.
It was like a good 10 paces
but
past him.
You could tell the shot he hit was, it looked like the shot he was trying to execute. Maybe got it a little bit skinny, but he was trying to kind of spin it, and there was just no stopping.
Did he try to land on the green? I didn't see it.
He did land it on the green, yeah.
And he was well past Rory, right?
Yes, he landed considerably further.
Which a lot of times you'll see guys try to bump that shot.
Yeah. Well, and I think, even Colin, the way Colin tried to play, it was just the most conservative version, was just let it just
Take the water to play.
But then he still 3 putts there. It's like you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. It'll be interesting to see where they put the pins the rest of the week. I thought 16 was a tough pin too.
Yeah, definitely pushed it back in that corner. Where the back 9, or I should say the second 9, played as hard as it was playing close to almost 2 over par at one point, where the front was closer to even, so twice as hard, which it isn't typical. I think when you get to the back 9, of course, you got 10 and 11 being difficult holes, 12 being a potential scoring opportunity if you hit a good iron shot, and then 13, 14, 15, depending on where they put the pin at 14. But yeah, you're right. They definitely had some tough hole locations on the second 9, and you saw players coming off the front and over par. You're thinking to yourself, oh man, where are they going to find birdies? But the one guy who was able to do it, who you got to give him flowers, especially in the afternoon, was Akshay Bhatia, birding 5 out of his last 6 holes.
So you brought his name. Did you see the wedge shots he hit on 3, 4, and 7?
Oh, silly. 7 was the best.
7 was Colt was I think on that group, or maybe it was just feature groups in general, and they where he hit it in that bunker. I think the line was if he gets us to 20 feet. it's good. He hits it to an inch. And at 3 and 4, just the creativity on 3 to kind of scoot it in from the right side with some cut spin and let it kind of work back down to the left. I just think and I'm going to mispronounce the guy. It's Gabe Hurtstedt.
Yeah, Gabriel Jedstedt.
Jedstedt, that's right. Just the work he's done and just his creativity with those wedges and changing speeds and arm action and just using spin in different ways. It's a lot of fun to watch. He's one of my favorite guys when we get around the green to watch these days.
Well, it's something that he knew heading into Augusta this year is that he continues to need to improve in that area. He's already come a long way, and I would say 20 months or so since he's really started to work with Gabe. Actually, it was actually about this time last year where he really started to work with him a little bit more. But it's something he identified. It's part of his game that he needed to learn more about different types of shots that he needed to have for out here, and you could see that he's comfortable playing them. And he didn't have his best stuff today, and I thought it was really cool to see him shoot 2 under par 70 where he didn't have his best stuff. That's a big sign for me for a young player to turn a day in which didn't really have it, but you were able to shoot under par.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just keeps you in the mix, versus guys like and I was going to segue back here into the DraftKings, the one and done portion of our of this program, because we made some picks and got to see where those guys are standing. But I think comparing what Akshay got out of his day relative to what Collin Morikawa and Rory McIlroy got out of their days, where they're looking so good. I mean, after Collin makes eagle at 13, Rory just 4 under, with 15, just I guess 4 holes left to play, makes double at 15 and 17. It's tough to feel like you had a chance to keep yourself in the mix on the first day, and then feel like you're 7 shots off the lead just because of some tough scores late in the round. Do you want to talk about Rory a little bit before we get to our one and done picks?
Yeah, I mean, he was on cruise control for I would say 14 holes or 13 and 3/4 of a hole. He hits to 5 feet on 14, just kind of misreads the putt. I think he hit a pretty good putt, but obviously wasn't able to make the birdie. And so he goes to 15. When that ball's in the air, I mean, you're thinking, all right, at worst he makes par. But it just felt like 16, he kind of makes a decent par, and then 17 just totally misjudged the lie out of the second cut there. Looked like it was sitting down a little bit. The fact that he landed that ball pin high or even past pin high coming out of the second cut, I mean, that ball's got to be landing at the front of the green. So a huge misjudge of the lie on the second shot. And then surprisingly, that's a pretty decent spot over the green because you're pitching back into a slope and the greens kind of sits back to you. That was a really good opportunity to get up and down, I felt like. And for him to misjudge that first bounce so much to where it went 20 feet by.
Yeah.
It's very easy to miss that next putt, but if it really felt like when he was putting for par, this is a time, let's just get this thing inside of a tap in. We don't need to make this putt, eliminate double bogey. And dude, he goes 4 over in a 3-hole stretch there where, you felt like 67, 66 was kind of on the radar, and all of a sudden he shoots even par.
I wonder if he does. I don't know how aggressively he was trying to play with that chip from the backside of 17, but you wonder if he hits that so aggressively, or he hits the comeback or putt so aggressively, if he hasn't just made double at 15, where he feels like he's giving away 2 shots. He's trying to stop the bleeding a little bit.
No, he just misjudged two pitch shots today. I don't know what happened.
It's crazy that it comes down to that, right?
You just
the margins out here are so thin.
I wouldn't say that he probably wishes he did anything different. Of course, he would have wished he would have probably landed in a different spot, but I don't think he missed his spot that bad on either of the pitch shots. And and it can happen so quickly.
So quick. And he's now 12-1 to win outright. 7 shots out the lead. If you're believing a little bit of Rory magic this week, from behind.
I think when you look at the leaderboard, you got to look at, all right, where's Scotty Scheffler at?
Right.
He's at 4 under. Justin Rose, we just talked about, +5s are a ridiculous number.
He could go out and shoot. He could shoot 200, 300 round tomorrow.
Exactly. So I think when a good player looks at this leaderboard, now granted, if there were multiple players up at 7 under or 6 under, you would say to yourself, Rory at even, that feels like, man, he's got to find some really good scores over the next 36 holes. But being at even, depending on what's going to happen tomorrow, which we expect the scores, I would expect the scoring average kick up even more tomorrow with the gust of 20-mile-an-hour winds expected. Now, maybe the hole locations might be more accessible tomorrow. We'll have to see. But it gives a player like Rory, who's going to be going off, I think probably mid-morning, a bit of a chance, maybe with a little bit of moisture in the grass tomorrow morning, to go out, go shoot something on the opening on the first 9 and try to get yourself back in the tournament. He definitely didn't shoot himself out of the tournament, but it really felt like Rory was going to be on near or top the leaderboard the entire week, and I think those 2 doubles is what kind of has him and everybody else a little shell-shocked.
Just thinking about last year on Friday, how windy it got, and the forecast tomorrow is west shifting northwest, 12 to 16 mile per hour winds with gusts from 22 to 27 miles per hour.
Okay, it's gonna be really hard tomorrow.
That could be
so much of that little pretty, so much of that pretty little Augusta National weather that we were talking about. This front kind of coming through tonight.
The temperature has been great. Temperature was phenomenal on the course today. I was hoofing it around. I was getting some cardio in for the first time. What feels like forever.
Yeah,
although I undid all of it, but just snacking myself to death on moon pies in the press building afterwards. But that's why I got the cardio in early. So let's talk one and done a little bit. Okay, so here's where we're at. My guy Collin Morikawa, as we talked a little bit about, he's now 30-1 to win outright. He finishes even. He's tied for 27th. We talked a little bit about the 2 par 5 approaches. He was positive strokes gained everywhere except for around the green. And that, again, I think is a really good juxtaposition between Akshay Bhatia, just talking about the way Akshay kind of saves strokes or gains strokes, and Collin hit it pretty good everywhere, but just, some costly mistakes around the green, finds himself at even par, 7 shots off that lead, 4 shots off Scotty. So what'd you think of Collin's day?
You know what? I typical Collin Morikawa stuff, nothing too surprising. I felt like he was got off to a bit of a slow start, just pars on his first 6 holes. I can't remember what he did at 7, 8, 9, but I was really watched those first 6 holes intently to see kind of what type of start he got off to. A little off, really, but he did make some big putts to kind of keep the round from getting away from him early, and then had his moments, of course, and then just fell back a little bit. But again, just like Rory, he's not out of this golf tournament.
I hope so. I really could use some one-and-done magic. On your side, you went with Bryson DeChambeau, who's tied for 5th.
DeChambeau.
3 under. He is under 10-1 in his odds to win outright. He's at 8-1 right now. He had a little bit of a roller coaster day. 7 birdies, 7 pars, 4 bogeys. Went straight to the driving range after his post-round interviews. Was just out there grinding as the sun was setting. And of all the strokes gained categories, his 2 best statistically approach in putting. So what'd you make of Bryson's day out there?
I would have said even something different. I would have said his driving distance. He averaged 342 yards driving distance off the tee today. Rory McIlroy was up there for a while at like 335 until he hit 3-wood at 17 and kind of missed one at 18. But the driving distance, I think, it's going to continue to be a weapon for Bryson DeChambeau. You throw in his putting and his short game that are complemented. I still think it's all going to come down for Bryson is, can he control his irons? We know how long he hits it, but at times he tends to hit things too firmly when he's trying to hit shots that are 3/4. Just, he's a strong guy, obviously, but you got to be so precise out here. And I'm wondering, on a windy day like tomorrow, is he going to be able to hit it pin high enough?
Well, there you have it. And we talked about our DFS lineup on the front end. Hopefully you didn't fare as bad as we did. But if you did, okay, here's what you can do. You can download the DraftKings app. You can use the code Smylie Show. That's SMYLIESHOW to play free for a shot at the $1 million top prize with just a $10 deposit. So maybe play one of those showdown games where you kind of get in the mix, a little one-day deal, just work your way back if you had a bad first day like we did. So
get back to even.
Get back to even. You got to claw back to even. So that's code Smylie Show for all DraftKings customers. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 and over in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $10 deposit required. One single-use $10 ticket rewarded for Fantasy Golf Millionaire Contest that expires on April 10th at 7 a.m. See terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. smylie.com/promotions.
Smylie, we wrapped with most of the discussion of the play today on the golf course, all the big names who are currently in the mix. There is one story we have to cover. I don't really know how to tee this up in a graceful way.
I got one story for you too. So you hit me with yours, and I got one for you after.
Here's Jose Luis Ballester. He turned Rays Creek into his own personal facilities. I don't know what it is with the Spaniards and outhouses. We heard, John Rahm clamoring for more outhouses a couple years ago. Now we have Jose.
There needs to be more porta potties. There needs to be one every hole at every golf tournament that we play.
And there was Bob Harry, to his credit, who's doing the hard hitting, journalism out there today. He asked a question of Jose after the round. At 13, there was an issue. Did you have an emergency? Obviously, they cheered. Can you tell us what happened there? Jose said, well, I completely forgot that we had those restrooms to the left of the tee box. And Bob said, on the 13th tee? And he said, correct. And then I'm like, I really need to pee. Didn't really know where to go. And since JT had an issue on the green, I'm like, I'm just going to sneak here in the river and probably people would not see me that much. And then they clapped for me. Probably one of the claps that I really got today real loud. So that was kind of funny. And Bob asks, were you concerned there might be any blowback from that at all? Obviously, they did see you, right? And Jose said, they saw me. They saw me. It was not embarrassing at all for me. If I had to do it again, I would do it again. So Jose feels no shame for using Rays Creek as an outhouse. Smylie, your thoughts?
It's fun to see Ballester here play his one and only Masters, and I hope he really enjoys it. First off, I did have a bit of an issue. I don't mind the upside down letters of a hat.
I hate it,
but I did not like it on your first day playing the Masters. I thought that was a miss.
I don't know what else if he's like playing bingo of how to like make people upset his first Masters, wearing an upside down Arizona State Sun Devils hat, and then peeing in Rays Creek. That's about as good as you can do. I mean, I don't know what. Can you go maybe get to the merchandise store early and smash all the gnomes, and then you just have the trifecta? It really blows my mind. But hey, he's out there doing him, so good for him.
Totally a bogey though. Those restrooms are right there. You just got to take care of it. And if you are going to have to go take care of the business, you go up in the woods, man. Like you got to get out of there. That was a big bogey.
Not only did nobody saw him, they gave him a round of applause. Like he put a show on. It's unbelievable.
Have enough crow's nest, you'll cheer on anything.
This is true. That was my story. You had a story as well?
Well, the story that I have is Wyndham Clark and John Rahm today were playing with Tommy Fleetwood and having an opportunity to watch these guys play today. John Rahm and Wyndham Clark both were on the edge. Man, they were losing their minds on the golf course. And poor Tommy Fleetwood is playing with these two guys that are absolutely losing it on every single shot, reacting. Just hitting tee markers. It wouldn't surprise me if both got a talking to from a green jacket at the end of the day. The mics were hot with those two guys. And poor Tommy just sat there all day and was just like, man, we got no good juju going on in our group. And complaining after every shot was quite the ordeal.
So I heard this, and actually I lied. I have one more story for you because this is on the same or a similar topic. Patrick Reed's quick quotes after the round were pretty hilarious. I asked him to sum up his day. He said, piss poor. I putted like a blind man. And he actually, I think he had a pretty solid round. I think maybe he shot 71 or something like that. And they kept asking questions and they're asking about his putter. When you're having a day like that, he says, you want to break it. You want to break the putter. That's what you want to do.
Retweet. P. Reed rising in the rankings.
P. Reed, yeah. So P. Reed, tough day. John Rahm, tough day. Wyndham Clark, tough day.
My one overall quick thought, quick wrap on this is, what did you think of how the LIV guys play today?
That's a good question.
Would you say fairly similar to what we saw last year?
I think, okay. So
Tyrrell Hatton, not a surprise to see him play well. Joaquin got off to a hot start. We were already handing him a green jacket off the beginning of his round.
I've been keeping tabs on Tyrrell since Bay Hill. I really like what he did that week, and I thought that he might be rounding. Actually, to be actually completely serious, because I looked this up today when Tyrrell was playing well. I think he's 26 on the points list for LIV this season. He really hasn't played that great. Whereas he
it's more so
really
what we saw on the DP World Tour.
For sure, yeah, winning there. But I think for those guys, you have Bryson and Tyrrell at 3 under. Kind of scrolling a little bit further down the leaderboard. I guess Cam Smith's at 1 under, made birdie at 18.
Sergio hit it well, putted terrible, shot even.
Yeah, Rahm obviously tough day for him. I feel like Rahm despite playing really well coming out of the wrong wave at the Open Championship last year, I do feel like he's still carrying some of that pressure.
And will you help me with one other thing too? As we promise we're almost done with this.
Yeah.
Is who shot themselves out of the golf tournament? Who were some players that you thought, hey, they could have good weeks? Maybe they're not going to win the Masters, but players that have had good years to this point that shockingly didn't play well. I assume Sepp Straka has got to be on the list.
Yeah.
I think I remember seeing Billy Horschel didn't have a good day. Lucas Glover.
Correct. Horschel 5 over.
Who else you got for me? Rahm would be probably the big storyline.
I'll tell you who had a crazy scorecard day. Nikolai Højgaard opens up bogey double, then goes birdie, 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 then birdie 7 to get 1 under, birdies 8 to get 2 under, then gives a stroke back at 9, and then doubles 10. It would like ends up shooting a 4 over round, but he had it completely off the rails, completely on the rails, and then back off the rails again.
Wyndham Clark would be another two.
I think it's out of the tournament.
Yeah, outside of that, I mean, you got some
Love
players that are kind of in that 1 over 2 over spot. Well, that'll all just kind of determine how they play tomorrow. But some players that we just talked about seem like they might be heading home early.
What do you think about it, guys? Like, I think, obviously we're still kind of waiting to see the full health from Xander, but like Xander 1 over, Jordan Spieth the 1 over. Do you feel like those guys are still in and around it?
Tell you what, watching
JT.
like Jordan, JT, Xander, it just too many inconsistencies from those 3 guys today. I think like JT's ball striking, Jordan seems like 18 holes putting together seems to be a little difficult. Like he could put 13 or 14 good holes together, and then Xander just seems just not quite as sharp and as tight as we're accustomed to. The putter doesn't look quite as good in his hands either.
Yeah, and that's usually he's a 5-tool player, as he's been described. He does a little bit of everything well, so he just needs some time to get healthy. That's all I got for today's journal, Smylie. I think that we've done about enough content now. Let's get this thing shipped and off to the viewers. We'll be right back here tomorrow to recap Friday at the Masters. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you then.
I listen to this podcast. It's really cool. And
all of our lovely fans and subscribers, but make sure you like and subscribe.
it's cool to see what you guys are doing. I know golf fans appreciate it, but we do too, so please keep it up.
For all the good people of YouTube, like and subscribe.
You guys have some good takes, so I'm happy to come on and shoot the